Welcome back to Media7, where we're surveying media coverage of the Christchurch earthquake. When the first big shake hit Christchurch last September, no media organisation gave it more time and effort than CTV, Christchurch's regional broadcaster. Tragically, that could not be this time, as CTV's own building suffered a horrible collapse, taking the lives of 15 staff with it. Jose Barbosa looks at what CTV has been.
Canterbury Television began broadcasting in 1991, and from the start its aim was to be the voice of the region. Although it was started by Joanna and Paul McMenamin, the channel has changed hands numerous times.
TVNZ announced on Monday it's closing down CTV and Horizon Pacific Television's 4 other regional stations. CTV presenter George Bellani says the local channel will continue as Christchurch Television Limited.
It eventually merged with rival station CHTV and is partly owned by Allied Press, who publish the Otago Daily Times. The channel created over 20 hours of local programming every week, all of which was extremely varied, from current affairs...
Welcome to Newsmakers, where we debate the week's issues through Canterbury eyes.
...to fishing.
These are really popular. Guys from the kayaks fishing with these as well.
...to rather awesomely local wrestling. And just about everything else that seems to happen in the community. In other words, CTV did exactly what regional television is supposed to do, which is to hold a mirror up to the community it serves.
It's a very tough business, regional television, and I think the reason CTV has been the longest running regional television operation is because of not only the parochialism of Canterbury, but the absolute pride and resolve to make it work.
It's a resolve that will be called upon, as the future of CTV now appears uncertain.
I'm joined now by CTV Chairman Nick Smith and the editor of the Press newspaper, which had 1 employee killed and many more injured, Andrew Holden. Welcome to you both, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Nick, where were you when the earthquake struck?
Well, I was in Dunedin, where our head office is, and I got the strange phone call from my daughter. In fact, she just had a second child, and my wife was there as well, and it's just hysterical down the phone. I was ducking, it was only a small shake. No, she said no, and it's not. So with that, the news unravelled, and we know what happened.
What will have been going on at the office at the time the quake struck?
Well, we're fortunate, because it was at lunchtime. We'd finished the filming, normally film between 9 o'clock and about 11:30, and that's inside, and there's a lot of advertisers and current affairs things at that time. So they'd just finished, and a number of staff, I'm only saying 10, had gone out. We've only got 10 left. In fact, it's 16.
Those 10 that went out are the ones you have left?
It's 16, not 15.
Just 16?
Told that today.
And sadly, you're still not even in a position to be able to tell people their names, are you?
No, because the police haven't released it. And I've been asked by a number of other newspapers about individual persons, but I will not say, and the company will not say, unless they've been officially named. It's just not right for the family.
How has it been for you being the story rather than conveying the story?
It really came home to me just on yesterday when they asked you to stop, 2-minute silence. I was driving north and I got out of my car and I was the only one who stopped going north. Coming south, the police car stopped because they saw me, and then a number of other things. But at that point, it hit me. Awful. Meetings today with existing staff is likewise we did last Tuesday, and they've had 7 days now, and I've given them what's hopefully going to happen in the future, and but we're not quite sure.
Andrew, your building was struck badly as well. What was the first decision you made afterwards?
Probably the most stupid decision you could make, which was run. Because I was in the office with my general manager. If the office had collapsed, it would have been a very career-defining decision, I think. So I went back to see that it was okay. On the street, when we were out there, it was to do a staff count, to get to people and ask them who was sitting next to them and were they out, could they see them in the building. So the first focus was around knowing who was out. We could see where we were on the edge of the square that the half of the top floor had collapsed, which is where our finance department was. So we had a pretty good inclination at that point that our news wouldn't be good.
Was there ever any doubt that there would be a paper the next morning?
No. No, there wasn't, so long as we had a printing press that was functioning and it had power, and that's out near the airport in a brand new building, or an 18-month-old building. If we had a printing press, we were going to print a paper.
There was a degree of pride about the fact that you were able to do that. I could see there were people commenting online.
Yeah.
That people were really proud of having put out a paper despite what had happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you feel, and our service is nowhere near those of the police and the fire service and the ambulance who are there saving lives, but to a lesser extent you feel that you've got a job to do, you have a service to do for your community, which is to tell the story, to inform them what had happened, and if we could do so, we should make every effort.
I wonder if now we could actually have a look at something I think you'll relate to. This is from the TV3 unedited footage that went to air.
Yeah, just check carts, I'm fine.
You right?
Yeah, good as gold.
What's your name?
Glenn Conway from the press.
Yeah, I know you, Glenn.
Yeah,
You're okay, you've got some blood on you.
I'm fine.
Okay. What's your name?
Rachel.
Rachel Barry. B-A-R-R-Y.
Well, I'm going to try and get home.
Okay, mate. Hey, your last name is?
Julian Hobday.
Hobday, that's right. You're a friend of Karen...
That's all right.
Thank you
very much. Now,
what's your name?
Go somewhere? Or?
No, sorry.
Sorry, just grab your name.
Yeah, Todd Lynch.
T-O-D-D.
What's your name, please?
Marnie.
M-A-R-N-I. And
Yeah.
last name?
Basto, B-A-S-T-O.
And you're...
I'm a doctor from St Vincent's Hospital in Melbourne.
Great. Okay. Can I get your name again? I'm sorry. I know you said it to me once before, but we're on the run.
Last time you filmed me, I was at the Combi tour.
I know.
You should know, boy.
No. Tell me.
Chris Brooks.
That's right.
It's the most ordinary thing a journalist can do, isn't it? Take names and check the spelling.
So mundane, but if you get it wrong, it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
If people are going to see their names in print, they want to see it done accurately. Their mum wants to see it done accurately because they can cut that piece of paper out and hang on to it for forever. So, and in some respects, I suppose, even for journalists in those situations, as horrified and themselves shocked, that basic act of getting somebody's name and writing it down as your hand shakes over the pad and getting it right is critical.
We also saw that in that extraordinary video that Olivia Carville and one of your cameramen got very soon after the quake.
What you're watching is people in shock. They can't believe they've actually got out of the building alive.
We've just been hit by a devastating earthquake in Christchurch again. I'm one of the reporters from the press building. I was upstairs when it hit. Buildings fell down.
They're trying to do a job as clumsily as they can, and in the end it's extraordinary what they're achieving.
Nick, your building in itself has become a story. When do you think you're going to have some idea of why it collapsed the way it did?
Well, I hear today when I read it in the press, because the press did a great job. I think Target Daily Times have done a better job at having it. But I read this morning, the press have been very, very good in those things, and the owners, we weren't the owner of the building, and that's got to be quite clear. In fact, our lease had run out, and they're taking our name off the top anyway. They painted it out, so that's one of those things. But I don't know, I'm not an expert. I just hope when they have an inquiry, the answers comes out, and I hope it's not negligence on somebody's side, because how would you live with that?
One would hope so. What about the future of the organisation itself?
Well, see, it's a bit difficult because I can't talk for our partner. We're 50-50 with the other gentleman who unfortunately is in the rubble. So we've got an issue there, but the amount of efforts and people have been in touch with us and offering assistance from all around the world, and I'm hoping that we'll have pictures out there. I can't categorically say yes, but I would think that next week we'll have something going. And as long as we resolve this thing with the family of our partner, because they might have a different view. There might be a view that he's been in that, he's there, he's gone, and they might think they don't want to see it. But knowing him, he would say it's like the press, paper must get out. And he would like to see us do it.
I'm sure that will be the view of the community as well.
Oh yes, definitely.
Andrew, I want to ask you about this, which has been widely circulated on the internet. It's a fascinating post by Peter Hyde suggesting that perhaps the focus of the media and everyone else needs to turn away from the CBD, which has been deciding all the drama, towards the eastern suburbs, where there are tens of thousands of people struggling to live in their homes. Do you think he has a point there?
I have to clarify this by saying I'm not watching an awful lot of other media, to be honest. I don't seem to get a chance to sit down in front of television, and had no power last week to watch it anyway, so I don't know what the electronic coverage has been. He is right. I mean, the city's more than just 3 parts. The city's a whole lot of different parts. Littleton's not the same as Sumner Red Cliffs, which is not the same as the east that he's talking about. There is a massive problem out in the east. There is no question about that. They need a huge amount of support. The focus on the CBD, we've got bodies still there that need to be brought out. I mean, I'm not going to blame anybody for wanting to get that job done first, because I think that's absolutely critical. So there's going to be a lot of tension. By the nature of these events, you're going to start to see very swiftly frustration, and we will see anger from people as the response. The conditions they're living in, and I've a number of staff who drive in every day from their homes. They've got no power, no water, they don't come showered. It's an extremely difficult situation. All you can do, as any media organisation can do, is try and cover it as best you can, and each day is a new day, and you'll try and get the next story that you can.
This is actually something that friends of mine in Christchurch have said, that they have predicted that the mood is going to turn from one of shock and grief to anger. Do you think that's right?
Oh, I mean, that's just, of course it will. We're all going to go through a huge range of emotions. I did hear a wonderful comment by one of the reporters yesterday, I think it was, who said it's been like kicking an ant's nest, in that even out in the east, there's this extraordinary number of people who've suddenly appeared from nowhere, who are running around with bobcats, who are shifting it with shovels. It's not going to be a perfect response. It's an astonishing level of disruption and damage that happened to the city. But there's a huge number of people out there trying to do their very best. And I think it won't be that many weeks before, even for those in the worst places, we're going to get some better facilities to them, absolutely.
I was going to say, a lot of people don't understand the enormity of what's happened. Today, a normal 10-minute drive, I want to go and have a look at the possibility of a new building, or another building. It took me an hour and a quarter. If the roads are so bad and they're so clogged because you can't go to various parts. Yeah. And it's just the whole city going down. It is a huge problem. And they might talk about those suburbs, but I've got a couple of friends who live in possibly the better type of areas, well, they call them the better areas. Their houses are gone, bang. It's just a pile of bricks.
It's quite a different quake to the first one, in that the first one we talked about the gap tooth syndrome, in that there were a number of little buildings had gone in between a whole lot of others. This is widespread. This is massive disruption to your roads, great cracks down your main arterial roads, and I think it is that level. And when you look at TV, where before you may have felt that the coverage of the September quake kept focusing on the Jeweller's Place and a couple of others, and it wasn't true, you need to appreciate it is that widespread.
This is actually something that one of the TVNZ people who've been down there said to me, that it's worse than it appears on TV.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Another thing that people have said to me is that they've greatly appreciated being able to read each other's stories, largely via the internet. It seems that everyone getting to tell their story has actually been quite important, and people have talked about gathering all those stories in one place. Can you see a role for the media in that?
I think so. Absolutely. And in some respects, that's the beauty of the internet, is that it's an unlimited space, whereas a newspaper, or indeed broadcast time on television, will never cover the 300,000 stories that people have. Whereas the internet, you can keep that. It may be that the city decides that its memorial will be a place where everybody can come along and leave something that they've written, something that they may have drawn, whatever it is that will be their story. The time capsule, if you like, we're talking about these 2 time capsules that we've discovered under one of the key statues in town. Perhaps that's what our memorial is for everybody to record what they went through and place it in one place so that it's there to remember.
That's a fine idea. Andrew Holden and Nick Smith, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. Best wishes for the future. You both have our professional and personal admiration.
Thank you.
Thanks also to David Haywood and to all the journalists who put aside their own interest to do the hard job of telling this story. We'll be back with Media7 next week. Until then, goodbye.